Hey guys, welcome back. In the previous video, we added another method for updating a booking. In this video, let's just go ahead and add a few more. So we now have a method for create booking, update booking. Let's just go ahead and add two more methods for partially updating booking and deleting booking. And then we can revisit a very important concept that we actually touched based upon the very first video. But before we go into details, let's just go back and add those methods. So if I open, for example, Explore Booking API, let's open it in the right pane, split right. This is how put method looks like, and if you look at patch method, it looks very similar to put. So the same signature, booking ID, nothing changes here. The same headers, application JSON, token application JSON, which is also the same. The only difference is one, what you want to update in terms of body and the patch call, right? So let's make a copy of our class, which is, let's go to booking API and let's make a copy of this method. By the way, the same to-do will apply to patch as well. In fact, anything that contains token. So I would say update booking. I will say it as patch booking. It will also accept a body. It will also accept an ID. Everything else remains the same. And yeah, except put, this will be patch, right? And for delete, if we scroll down, it has cookie token. It has content type, but that's it. So if I make a copy of this, Control C, Control V, and let me call it as delete booking. So delete booking only accepts a booking ID, so I don't have to provide any body here. So body can go away, and the endpoint is delete, and the rest looks the same. So you have a booking endpoint, you provide the ID, and then you should be able to delete the booking. The rest of the headers are same. Where is it? Yeah, it accepts cookie token, and content type is application JSON. There is nothing to accept from the server, so this can go away. So with this, now we have added methods for create, update, partially update, and delete booking. And there are a few more remaining, but I think these are enough to prove the point that you will already see that our code has become pretty long, 91 lines long, and a lot of this information that we see here is actually common. Content type is same, accept is same, token is wherever we want to use a token, that is also same, the base URL is same. So this brings us back to the topic that we discussed in the very first video, and that was about if you open the test framework design. So let me open in Explorer, and if I open the design, let me put it here. Few videos back, we mentioned about handling request body, we mentioned about handling response body and API endpoint, and we said we will handle assertions in a future video, and we said we will handle base request specification in another video. So now the time has come, and we are going to handle base request specification, right? So if we go back, Windows 2, what we are going to do is we are going to create a new class which will be called as a new package, and we will call it as BaseSpec, right? And in fact, the class name can also be called as BaseSpec, right? And what we want to do is, if we open this application again, we have seen two kind of API endpoints. An API endpoint that needs authentication tokens. So for example, things like update, partially update, and delete. And the other endpoints like get booking IDs, get and create booking, that does not need authentication tokens, right? So I'm going to create two methods which will provide a basic specification without headers and a basic specification with headers, right? So these are going to be public, static, and in fact, for now, let me just put void, and I will say get BaseSpec get, and in one case we will say return new 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 request specification builder. And the reason I'm going to like okay, return new request specification builder, and then we want to add some headers. So if you look at, for example, the post booking, let's make a post call again. This post call has got couple of headers. It has a header for application JSON, a header for to accept application JSON, right? So let's say add header, and if we go back to the API class, let me close this. Let me open the API class, split right, and it contains header of accepting content type. So let's put this one. Let's put a comma. Control D. In fact, we don't need a comma. It's a fluent method chaining, right? So the other one is accept application JSON, and apart from this, we have a base URL, right? So we can have set base URI. We can have set base URI, and for now, I'm going to provide this base URL here. By the way, again, a disclaimer: you should never be putting anything which ties your method to a particular test environment. Like in this case, it will be tying it to a particular test environment. So we will use configuration, and depending on the environment chosen, the right base URL will be substituted, right? But for now, we'll first try to make it work, and then we'll make it better in the future iterations. And then with this, you actually have got two choices. You can actually say build, and then you can provide a request specification, or you don't build it here, and you let your application, whoever is calling it, let them build it with any other extra headers that they might need. So based on my own personal experience, I think it would be nice if we don't provide a specification, but if we provide a specification builder. In the past, I always used to provide specification, but I think from now on, I will go ahead and try to only provide a builder and see how it works. So I will not provide build, and then it is complaining that return type should be request spec builder. So we will change the return type to request spec builder. Now this will work for our methods like get and create, which does not need auth tokens, but it will not work for put and delete. So we need to have another method which accepts authentication tokens, right? So let's create a copy of this, and this one will accept an authentication token. And instead of trying to create the whole thing, the only thing that we know is different is this cookie token. So in fact, we can say return get, and then we can get rid of all this stuff, and we only need to add another add cookie, and the cookie would be token, and whatever token is provided to it, right? So we now have two static methods. One will provide us request specification which does not contain authentication, and other one which will provide us authentication which contains all this basic authentication plus the authenticated tokens. So now if I go back to this API, we should be able to reduce the code duplication from 91 lines to, I think, much more shorter. So now what we can do is let's comment all this, and let's try with new booking first. So I would now provide a spec, and in spec I would say base spec, and I will say get, because post call does not need to provide any authentication tokens. And of course, we need to build it to get it as a request specification. So let's just go ahead and try and see if this works fine or not. So if I go to booking test, let me try to run a booking test, and okay, so it works fine. The response was 200. It was able to create an ID. So with this, what we can do is I can now go back to booking API, and I can remove all this duplicate code, and in fact only put this line for over here. So spec, and now for update, we know that it also expects an authentication token. So this get call would need an authentication token. So now we can comment these 4 lines, and let's try to run our test again, which contains test for both create and update. And let's run this, and let's see what happens. And if it works fine, I will just go ahead and clean up the rest of the class. And as you can see, the update worked fine. It was able to update the name. The response was 200, and the body shows that we got the right response. So if I come here, let's clean up the whole class. I can remove these 4 lines from here. Let me copy this. I can remove this for patch booking, and we can do the same for delete booking. So base URL, header, and that's it. I think we are able to reduce a lot of code duplication by refactoring our common code into a base request specification class, which now can be used in any of the methods to give you base specification. And if you need to change if you need to add any extra headers, you can do that from here. So that's the awesome part of having this small BaseSpec class, which only contains now 2 methods to make your API methods much more leaner. So that's it for this video, and I think there's a lot of cleaning up that needs to be done. So in the next video, what I will do is I will clean up all these config items into config class, into config files, and make our test much more readable. So thank you. See you. Bye-bye.